Topic A, lists. Now, lists in Python have the following properties. I guess before I start this, lists are basically marked with square brackets, and in other languages they're known as arrays. Now, lists in Python have the following properties. They are ordered, meaning the items are in a very particular order, and this order is controlled by an index. The first item has index 0, second item has index 1, third has index 2, and it goes on by increments of 1. Now, lists contain arbitrary types. This simply means that you can have different data types in a list. So the same list can have an integer, a floating point number, and a string. More interestingly, lists are arbitrarily nestable. So you can have lists, inside of tuples, inside of lists. So basically you can nest data structures, and this gives you certain advantages. If you want to research more, you can look up at 2-dimensional, 3-dimensional lists. But what this also means is that lists are greatly variable when it comes to size. Typically they have a small number of items, but they can have up to millions. Finally, lists are mutable, which means you do not need that equals operator to change what is in the list. List functions permanently change the list, typically. So let's have a look at some list examples. So these are 3 examples. The very first one, list 1, is an empty list. So once you create that, you can do list operations on it. List 2 is a list that contains integers, 5 of them. And list 3 is the interesting one. It has 4 items. The 4th one is a list itself. And the items are of different data types. So you have a mixture of integers and strings. So let's finally cover in a little bit more detail list indexing and how that works. So here we have an example of a list. List has 11 items. They're all actually squares of numbers 1 through 11. And we can have a look at the index of each item. Index of the first one is 0. Last one is 10. So that's why you get 11 numbers. 5th one is actually, the index of the 5th one is 4. So let's say you want to access a couple of them. This is what that would look like. If you say L2, that means index 2 of L. That's 4. Index -1, that's the last number, and that is 121. So I think I'm done talking about the lists. Let's take a look at them in code, create a couple, and do some basic operations with them. In this program, we are going to get reacquainted with lists. Right here up top, we have a list that has another list in it, known as a nested or a 2-dimensional list. Here's the list of strings. So we are going to be doing the following operations. We're going to add these lists, read indexes. We are going to read indexes of nested lists. And we are going to write, so change values in a list in both, the normal list order and the nested order. Let's get started. So adding 2 lists. So we can say mix equals the letters plus numbers. Now you can actually add them 2 different ways. You can create a 3rd variable. Now this would work, even if it was a tuple, print mix. So we've combined these 2, but you could have done something like this. Letters plus equals to numbers. So you've added numbers to the letters, so now even letters is going to be a list that contains both letters and numbers. Next, we're going to read index of lists. So let's just say that we want to read a particular item. So in this letters list, let's say we want to read that one. So that would be index 0, 1, 2. Okay, so we can print letters square bracket 2. And we should have C. Bingo. Now, let's say we want to read a nested item. So something like that. Let's say that's 7. We want to figure out how to access that 7. Well, there's 2 elements to this because this is a 2-dimensional list. First, we need to find the item of the list, which is going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So if we print letters 10, we should get Yes, we should get that list. And then we decide which item in the list we want to read. So if it's 7, it has index 1, and we should get access to the 7. So finally, writing items into lists and nested list. You can actually assign a value, and by doing so, change a value of an item at a particular index. So you see how we have A, B, C, D, E? Let's say I want to change E with a capital E. So all I need to do is say letters, figure out the index, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and set a new value, capital E. And at this point we can print letters. As you can see, that E has been changed. So finally, what if we want to change a nested value? Well, we can just copy down that access to 7, and if we wanted to change 7 to 700, perhaps, we can print letters again and watch how that just took place. See, 7 swapped out for the 700. All right, so that's all for our reintroduction into lists and list operations.